Your wish has been granted.
What is going on, Dragon Ball Super players? This is the People's Champion. Welcome to my table. Today we are stepping into the ring with, for my money, a legend in the community, topped events in the past, and an inspiration to me personally, Jon Szkolnik, aka RabidSquirrel. Thank you for joining the podcast today.
Yo, yo, yo. What is good?
You know, I have been begging you to come on my podcast since the days of the Kami House Lounge, and I finally landed you on here. I think you are easily one of the core reasons why Hermit Style still exists in a lot of ways, or at least the Dragon Ball Super part of it. I know there's several different sections of Hermit Style, but I feel like without you, the Dragon Ball Super part of the Hermit Style Discord would probably be dead by now.
Yeah, it's been a while, but having a place for all the players to play is always great. As far as like the original team, they're still kicking around. I think they're kind of doing their own things, but they still maintain.
Yeah, a lot of the old OGs, they're still there. I mean, I've been a part of the Hermit Style Discord for many of years. I mean, it's still technically, from a number standpoint, the biggest Dragon Ball Discord out right now.
Yes.
I think the Lookout is a close second, but I mean, as far as actual numbers, Hermit Style is, but activity-wise, it's a little bit different. But still love it there, all the same. Jimmy's a goat for, having that Discord still up to this day. But you do a fantastic job, maintaining the community the best you can. You run locals every week. Whether or not it fires or not, you do a fantastic job, trying to do your best to maintain it. You provide your own prizing, which is completely not even required for you to do, but you do it anyway. And for that, you are a GOAT. And I just want to say from the community, thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm very thankful for Jimmy for keeping the server together. We've had numerous times where it's been up on the table to be Zenoed, but it's still going strong. As far as tournaments go, I think mix of COVID did a number, and then also just like the amount of locals that kind of dwindled over Bandai moving between sets and people kind of losing interest, or just like not wanting to play in events.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're sorry. The set 18 meta, I know, is one of those tipping points that we go into, of people kind of like not having things addressed fast enough to where they lost interest.
I would definitely agree. That was probably, for my money, like the worst meta that I had ever witnessed, because I actually wasn't playing Dragon Ball at that time, but I've always kept my finger on the pulse of this game. This is my favorite card game of all time. I could never quite stay away from it, but there was a good year that I wasn't playing the game, but I always kind of paid attention. And the one thing that I did notice, it was like a year long of Red Gogeta, Red Sin, and Blue Gammas, and it looked miserable.
To a degree, it was. There were times where I enjoyed playing it. I think it's one of those formats where you have like the eternity of decks. So like it's gonna come down to skill in those mirror matches. Of course, you have the push button secrets in a sense, but most of the time those matches were a good long back and forth and just kind of like preparing for like your opponent's end game and like trying to stop them and then kind of get your pluses in where you can, especially like the Gamma versus Gogeta matchup, just because of the 8-drop, and also their leader being able to go to the 100,000 or 10,000 Z lead.
I absolutely agree, for one, but like I never really was like a fan of that Z leader. Just not even from from a power standpoint. It was like your emergency button to live, but then after that you couldn't do anything because you tapped out. So I never really thought it much to be a problem, but I guess the point was you were supposed to overwhelm into the Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, but I wasn't around for it, but it just didn't, on paper to me, it was like, okay, you live a turn, but then you can't do anything. So it just didn't seem like it mattered. But I wasn't necessarily in the trenches for that to know for sure. But I mean, that 8-drop was insane. I still think probably the most broken card they ever put out, unless you were playing a Gogeta deck. But
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that really gave you a leg up on it in blue was Dirty Burst.
Which, as everybody knows by now, Dirty Burst can come back, in my opinion.
I could see it. But moving from there, it kind of got to the point where like my own locals petered out. We used to have a local of like maybe 6 to 7, sometimes like up to 12 people, and then a couple people like stopped showing up, and then one of my good friends actually moved away, and he and myself were kind of like those linchpins, so to speak. So like, you know, if we didn't show up, other people just didn't go at all. So then it was also the difference between like the casual players and the like more competitive, so you always had that disconnect from time to time as well, even though we all tried to make it work with each other. But
yeah,
so,
I had a similar issue with my locals for a while. Even before that, we tried really hard not to like allow a divide between the competitive and casual players, but it just kind of naturally happened because the competitive players would play.
It naturally happens in any card game.
Mm-hmm. Casual players get frustrated because they're losing to the competitive decks, but then the competitive players are like, well, this is what I want to play. I compete. I'm sorry you can't win in a locals, but that's not, you know, it's not really their fault, but they also in the end feel bad because everybody else is getting pissed off. So like,
right,
it's kind of like a lose-lose situation with that.
And I think the perfect thing with Dragon Ball is that with so many leaders existing and such a vast card pool now, like you have the ability to play really any pet deck that you see fit. Sure, it might not always be up to snuff with everything else, but I think as long as you enjoy it, and even going into that mindset, if you know that like, hey, this is just a pet deck, and like if you win that match about something that you don't think you'd win against, like that should make you feel great. I mean, that's like, you know, the typical like rogue versus the meta.
I absolutely agree, and we kind of got to experience that this past couple of weeks. But, you know.
Yeah, with a little bit of derailment. But
yeah. So speaking of that, how was your week, John?
You know, not too bad. I just came off of a week vacation. It was pretty good. Going through like Discord and reading along. Come Monday, you got that bomb drop.
Was it Monday?
I think it was Monday or Tuesday. It might have been Tuesday.
I think it was Wednesday because it feels like it's only been 3 days. Like, chat, this has been the longest 72 hours of my life, and it feels like it's been 2 weeks squeezed into like 3 days. You know, if for those who don't know, you know, my former YouTube partner, I mean, if you've probably seen my video, he cheated. He's basically gone from the community. That's why there's the podcast reband. That's why, you know, I'm just going solo, having guests. I love having guests on here, so it's not going to be just me rambling off to you guys. But, you know, for those who aren't in the know, we had a bunch of cheating allegations come out, proven, you know, more than one. Like, it's just kind of been growing ever since the Booster Box Regional, and it's kind of insane.
Honestly, very insane.
I think it's probably like a worst string of cheating catches since Nationals, and I
have to agree. And it's crazy too. Is right after like coming off of the cusp of them like Foch and like Bandai talking about cracking down on cheating and making sure that, you know, like keeping the community, you know, cleaner, so to speak.
Which is a great move for them to do, and I'm super stoked that they're doing that. But the simple fact that they announced that, and then at the same time, like literally right after, at, you know, Bandai Card Fest, we had a cheater get caught on stream. The only time that it was on stream, someone got caught cheating. And then this event where I think 5 or 6 of the top 8 of the event got caught cheating somehow, or at least is accused of. And
I think the EU also had like a couple players in one of their recent events.
It's crazy. It's like you just got told that they're cracking down on this, and then you do it anyway on camera. Like, crazy to me. I just don't know the thought process behind that.
I wish I knew. I'd probably have more prizes at that point.
You know, I would too, but I just have too much integrity as a person to do that. I mean,
yeah.
I'm already a table 500 king, but, you know, I would rather stay that way and maintain a little bit of honor in my life. I know it's just a card game, but, you know, it's my card game, and I want to keep it clean. And so it's just crazy, you know. And I understand, like, I can understand reasons people could come up with for doing this stuff, kind of thing. You know, pressure, desire to win, you know, prize cards or whatever. I could understand that, but it's just also, I'll never condone it.
It feels like it just hurts more people than it helps. Because, like,
absolutely,
if you don't get caught, then sure, like, you got away with it, like, you got your prizing. But, like, obviously, in the ones that do get caught, like, you see the ripple effect that it has on everything that you do, and then also, like, any card game within, like, the, you know, the Bandai sphere that you'd want to play. And even other card games, you know, it'll just kind of, like, be a little smaller reminder that people will just have to be like, hey, like, that guy cheated, or, you know, in this one event, like, look out for him.
Yeah, like it's a cloud that will follow you around. You know, you definitely won't be able to compete in Bandai games anymore because it's all encompassing. But then the cloud will follow you over to, like, say, Riftbound, since that just came out, or Magic the Gathering, because that's been a staple. People go back to that. But the internet is vast, and people will find out about people's past history, and then now that will follow you around. Everybody will treat you different, and it's just not worth it. And then in the end, it hurts the community, because we are already I don't even like to use the word life support when it comes to the Dragon Ball community. We are a small community. I think we're doing fairly well.
I'd like to use the term fractured.
There we go.
That's especially with, like, Fusion World being in the same space.
Yeah. I think that was one of the biggest things that Bandai did that kind of hurt the community, but I digress on that. But just like with the string of cheats that we've had, it genuinely hurts the entire community as a whole, because we become a game that has a reputation of there's a bunch of cheaters over in that game. Why would I want to go learn to play it? When really that's just not the case. It's just this weird blip in the history of Masters that has been inflamed with whoopsie makes.
Yeah, it's it definitely doesn't help, especially when trying to add new players to the game, or even players that are learning Fusion World that, like, you know, make the decision of, like, hey, I could try out Masters. But then they look at everything and probably even, you know, look through deck lists or listen to podcasts, and then say, oh, like, this is kind of cool, and then you find out of all the cheating and all the allegations and everything, and kind of, like, sways your mindset to be like, do I want to get involved with that or not?
Absolutely. And, you know, for my money, if I wasn't already sold on this game, I probably would have the same thought. Like, why would I want to go play that game and then waste money on the cards and try to win, you know, an event, or try to do well in an event, and constantly be paranoid that my opponent across from me is doing something wrong.
Yeah, it's pretty upsetting, especially where we've gotten to at the moment. But I kind of hope as we move towards Nat season and after Nats and into, like, our next set, that hopefully we can bring some positivity to it.
I hope so too. I mean, I think the game is in a very good spot, especially meta-wise. Like, I think this has been, for my money, the best meta that I've seen in the game. I think the last time I remember this wide open of a meta, it was right after Dragon Ball Fest back in, like, 2022. I think it was right after Realm of the Gods came out. It felt very wide open back then. But you could take almost anything nowadays and do pretty well. I mean, granted, there's still always going to be the top decks. I mean, Warp Vegeta, Saiyaman right now, he's doing really well. But I've seen other, like, rogue tier decks doing pretty decent. Even we're not even going to count the win that Lord Slug got, but just in general, I think it's in a great spot.
Well, I'll give props to the deck, because it did get newer support, which kind of puts it on that, like, even playing field. Except in the case that, you know, what happened, so it might not be the same hand size, but I think it can still contend with some of the newer decks, especially the newer decks that have gotten support, like KP, the Roshi deck, Vigex, like all of the decks that we've seen these TP support for, which has been phenomenal. Some give great buffs to, the others not so much. It's kind of lacking a little bit more. Like, it's good for the deck, but it still falls to the same like problems that it had, like, once before.
And we've seen, the support just through anniversary boxes. Like, I mean, even though like our anniversary box meta was cut very short with the release of Prismatic Clash, but a lot of the support in just the anniversary box alone was really, really strong. I mean, Kefla is a really good deck right now. Surge Q is really good. I think it's a little bit outshined by Kefla. Even if you're not playing it, go G to scr.deck. But and then I don't think there is a single bit of actually like bad support in the anniversary box.
To me, the best support out of the anniversary box, Majin Vegeta, put it into a much scarier glass cannon territory.
Mm-hmm. Which I think that's the goal. You want green Majin Vegeta to go all or nothing. Like it's like AOD, but it's more centralized on Majin Vegeta, which I'm here for. I mean,
yeah, very fun deck. The support that it got just kind of put it over the top. Being able to play a triple strike as early as turn 2 is kind of insane. A lot of fun to pull off. And then the fact that they gave the new Vegeta, they didn't make it limit 1, lets you go for some crazy wide plays too.
Yeah. I witnessed one game someone played 3 of the triple strikes out in one turn because they just like high rolled that hard in their hand, and I don't know how that player survived that turn. They just happened to have a floodgate, but when you're facing Majin Vegeta, you better have it or you're gonna die.
Yeah, for sure.
Because not only are they triple strikes, they're like 30k triple strikes.
Yes, they are. They're big boys. Going back to the meta being wide open, I've been having probably the most fun in this format. I think I have like maybe 7 to 8 different decks built just to play around with. Like I've played Belmod, Rinsu, Perunga, KP, Surge. There's probably one that I'm missing somewhere in here. Majin Vegeta. Shout out to that again. And then Great Sandman has been pretty fun too.
Which one do you think you're favoring out of that list?
At the moment, I'm still leaning more towards the Rinsu. I've put a lot of work into playing it. It's probably that fun blue aggro deck. I do agree with its like sometimes lack of hand size, especially when trying to close a game out. But you're also trying to close games out on potentially turn 3. So you kind of can catch a lot of opponents off guard or put them into unfavorable positions.
Now, are you running it mono blue, or are you trying that Brian Samuel blue yellow version?
I'm just running mono blue at the moment. I was playing with the Unison package with the Android 1718.
Okay.
I did see, I think from Beer's 9th place top, like his list looks pretty cool. I might give that a whirl, change some things around, see how I like it, because it's a great deck. It's just it's blue aggro. It's got all the fun tools.
Oh, absolutely. So, you think you're going to be going to Nats? Is that probably what you're going to be leaning towards, or are you going to avoid Nats this year?
No, it's one of the decks that I have a pick for. I will be attending Nats. I have my stuff, or my plane and my hotel set up for it already, and got through all that. Just getting there.
There we go.
Got about a month away.
A month away, less than a month actually. Yeah. Now I know where the champ is gonna go sleep in your couch, in your hotel room.
I don't think my room has a couch, but it might. I don't really remember when I set it up.
Floor, couch, big spooning you, it's all the same.
I mean, beds are pretty large.
I will say when we went to Dallas, the hotel room that we had, it was the loudest hotel room I've ever been in. Not because like the neighbors or anything, just like it was made of like this creaky wood floor that every step you took sounded like you were stepping on like that old. Do you remember when Sun Chips had like the biodegradable bag? And
yes.
Every time you opened it, it sounded like you were opening up a bomb. It sounded like that walking through this hotel room. and like the door was heavy and loud, and like I would get up early in the morning to go get breakfast, and all my hotel mates were still asleep, and I just felt like I was gonna piss them all off because I took a step in my room. So hopefully that hotel is not that loud.
I hope not. It's always, you never know what you're gonna get sometimes with some hotel rooms. It's probably the biggest gamble.
Yeah. Hopefully you got one that's close to the venue.
Right across the street.
Oh, there you go. Because I've gone to events where I'm like supposed to be technically like 10-15 minutes away, but you don't ever account for traffic, and then suddenly you're like 45 minutes away, and you're worried you're going to be late to the event.
Yeah, when I went to Nats in 2022, I was just down the road from the venue. And one of my friends that went, he was at a timeshare about 15 minutes away, and it took an hour and 10 minutes with traffic.
Good God. I would have just got out and walked at that point.
Yeah. So definitely always pay attention to traffic depending on the spots that we go to.
Definitely so. So let's go ahead and pivot into the main event of this podcast, where we are talking all about, building a community, maintaining it, how to make it better. And I think you are pretty well versed in this particular subject, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because you've done so well, maintaining the Hermit style Dragon Ball community and, doing what you can. And, I just wanted to pick your brain on that. So first of all, what keeps you motivated to do it?
Honestly, the community in general, just like having a spot for people to be able to play. Considering that, like, as I said earlier, about losing my local, I really only ever played in onlines, and most of like the Bandai events throughout these past couple of years have been, few and far between in real life events. So it makes like wanting to spend the money to travel to it and play, especially if it's just for like the couple hours, and say that I didn't do any testing or anything. Like, I'm just basically going to hang with the homies. So it always depends on like the price point at that. But being online and being able to give others a community or an area to play has kind of what's been keeping me going. It's nice to, I guess, have that like weekly interaction too, regardless if we talk like to each other every day. But like being able to just kind of sit down and sling some cards, kind of makes for those the nice break in a work week, I guess I should say.
Absolutely, I agree. And, I think like when remote play became a thing, when COVID hit, I was pretty hesitant to say the least. I thought it was going to be garbage. But I think over the years it's gotten a lot better. It's a great option for people all over the world, because there's a lot of Dragon Ball players that are all over this place. And, you got people living in the middle of nowhere who don't have a local, or if there is a local, it's 2, 3, 4 hours away. So it's just not worth going. So being able to provide that kind of like environment to where people can compete and get some games in, and I think like the only thing that's really hard about it is motivating people to play, because a lot of people want to play for prizing, and you kind of have to have a store for that,
right?
And you've done a good job, in my opinion, of kind of providing that yourself, because I know that out of your own pocket, I believe. I don't know for sure.
No, definitely. The one thing that I'll always touch on is that like I'll try to provide some form of prizing, and almost all of it is out of pocket. There are times where people have given me or sent me cards to like give for the local for weeklies, but even on top of that, like I'm still going through and like shipping them out to people out of my own pocket. But it's a nice gesture to me, in turn, to see the amount of people that want to play and compete and really just show up.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the reason why I started doing that myself, because I know like here in at the Eternal Dragon TCG's Discord, we're trying to get our own locals going, and I wanted to follow the same model you do. I have a bunch of abundance of random ass cards all over my desk, all over my boxes. Like, I don't need all this, so let's give back to the community. It may not be, current TBs or anything, but it could be useful stuff that people can want or use. And of course, a big hit with the prizing, especially that I noticed since you started doing it, the Z-Deck sleeves. All those old sleeves that we got from like anniversary boxes, or that you just get from, when Ultra Pro actually did Dragon Ball sleeves. People love using them for a Z-Deck, and because they were garbage sleeves to use for a deck, but as a Z-Deck that you're not shuffling around, they look great.
It's kind of like what I looked at when I saw like the plethora of sleeves that I had, and even some newer sleeves that come out. To me, it was always just kind of like hey, that's a perfect thing for prizing because we have a Z-Deck. So it's something to kind of just be like, let me just use these couple of sleeves and show off like, hey, I got these fun 10 at that, at 1.7, but then when they moved the Z-Deck to 10, it made it a lot easier.
And you see a lot of more value out of those old sleeves because, like I'm looking at a literal full pack of the old Raditz sleeves from the first anniversary box, and you can't get these anymore. And then if you go online to try to find a pack of them, they're like $20, $30 for no reason other than the fact that you can't get them anymore. And so, the pricing isn't about the value, but it's just like, it's a cool art on a sleeve that people, if they really like Raditz, if they really like the Awakened Power Goku art, they'll have them for their deck. And I think it was a great idea of you to figure that out. It's something that was obvious that no one had thought about.
And aside from sleeves too, I also have I don't have as many as I did before, but the kind of the side loader sleeves or top loaders for certain leaders. I used to have an abundance of colors. So it would be like one for all 5 colors, and that was always a hit. Even for like some of the bigger events that I guess that we did. I do have some of that same colored top loaders in that sense now, but obviously top loaders are a little bit larger than what fit in most deck boxes, so I don't really promote them as prizing as much. But I still try to find unique prizing as well, especially given like Super Dragon Ball Hero cards, some of like the stuff for divers, just little like mementos that don't necessarily have to be like for the card game either.
Absolutely, because I like to use I have some Super Dragon Ball Hero cards myself, and I think they make good energy markers.
Yes.
If you have a themed deck, like I have a shitload of Android 18 Super Dragon Ball Hero cards, Gogeta cards, and like I was planning on using them for my Gogeta deck. If you don't like the official energy markers that Bandai puts out, Bandai has made a whole ass different card game that you could use for energy markers, and you're not going to get it confused with an actual Dragon Ball card. So, I think if anybody out there who's listening who's like trying to maintain their own online locals, I think these types of prizing ideas would probably help you a lot, because I think with other Discords running their own events, attendance is always an issue, and motivation to get people to come play. Some people unfortunately look at it like, well, is it worth my time? And you could find ways to incentivize people to come play in locals. And I think these are great ideas that someone could do that virtually cost nothing other than the price of an envelope and a stamp.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily need prizing either, because let's take the Lookout for example. Like they run their events and they don't do prizing, they just go through and stream it. So it's nice to have that ability to kind of just showcase gameplay as well. And then you don't necessarily need. Let me backtrack a moment. You shouldn't necessarily have to entice players to play if they already want to play.
I agree with that.
Just a little added bonus.
For sure. I think I would encourage, if you're starting like a brand new like online locals, is use that as a reward for people regularly showing up, and rather than an enticement, because they'll look at it like an expectation. Like one day, if there's a week where you can't provide some kind of prizing, and if they come to expect that there's always prizing because you did it from the rip to try to bring them in, that might have a negative effect. But if you say, hey guys, you guys have been showing out, every week, we're getting at least 8 players to fire. I'm gonna reward you guys for some prizing, to give it a little bit more excitement. And then streaming the event is always good. I think Damien has always done a really good job at streaming his events. That's why I want to do that in Eternal Dragon, just in the Discord for Eternal Dragon TCGs. I want to do a little bit of both. I like to commentate, so I never play in my own events or the Discord's own events, but I love streaming everybody's games. I love talking over it. I like watching Dragon Ball. I like watching the gameplay more than I actually like playing itself most of the time, I actually think. It's a problem of mine I'm trying to work out. I just don't know what it is. I think I get like play paralysis every time I think about playing a game.
Why play when I can commentate?
Absolutely. It's like one of those things where like I know way more about this game than I can explain through gameplay. Like I could talk about it for days, but when it comes down to gameplay, I love the game. Don't get me wrong. It's just like I sit there and sit across from somebody with a deck, and then suddenly, like everything leaves my mind, and I play like an absolute dumbass. So
all of your cards go straight to the energy.
Absolutely. Or if you're like me and Dragon Ball Card Fest 2022, you forget to charge 2 turns in a row. Like that's how like airheaded I get about Dragon Ball when I'm playing it.
You gotta like have a little note card to tell you what to do each turn. Make sure to charge.
Mm-hmm. Or like some kind of flow chart for whatever deck I'm playing off to the side, but you can't do that because it's note taking, and so I'm like, well, for those who can't do, you might as well teach. So that's what I'm here for, and that's why I'm always going to be the people's jam, not the actual one.
Going back to tournaments and setting up events, we actually started doing these events back in, I believe, it might have been maybe end of April of 2023. It started with what was at the time the B team, so to speak, for Hermit Style. So it was manned by I believe Kush. Shout out to Kush, Immortal. He started to run them, and then we bounced off each other, and then I think he took a step back, and then I kind of just took over, as of like July. So we've been going pretty much since July of 2023. So a good 2 years been counting. Still going strong, and sure we haven't fired off every week, and sometimes it gets pushed or postponed, but usually if it does, like most of the time that prizing will just kind of get pushed into the next week as well.
Yeah, you just start a big pool of prizing, and eventually someone could get a whole ass deck by the end of it.
Honestly, yeah. And some people will also try to, push that prizing to the next week and say, hey, I don't want it, until I'll just be like, hey, nah, I'm sending it to you.
It's like, no, dog, I'm sending this shit to you.
Because it does sometimes get to be like a running joke, and then I'll just be like, nah, like I have your address now at this point. I'm just sending it to you. We're starting fresh. Yeah, but it has it has started out pretty strong. I think we obviously plateaued for a bit, especially after like given current events of the game with like set 18, and then also having like the Fusion World announcement kind of splits it a little too, where like people like were very apprehensive to want to play. So we've maintained somewhere in between the like, let's say 7 to 15 range, sometimes a little bit more, unless we have like bigger events that we do try to host. They have been a little few and far between, but still trying to make it work. Have some ideas in the works as well. I would like to get an event set up before Nats, but given the time frame, I might not have enough time, so it might be right after. Which is great to give people give people something to do after Nats or look forward to. And usually if we do bigger events to that degree, there is some sort of bigger incentive in terms of prizing as well.
Absolutely. And I think like one thing that like online locals runs into is people's schedules. Like it's almost as bad as trying to find a D&D group to meet up together all at the same time. We're all adults. I mean, I think the average age of a Dragon Ball Super Masters player is in their like late 20s, early 30s. So we're all adults. We all have shit to do, and sometimes it's hard to line up on one day to where like the community as a whole is large enough, especially in the Discords, to like man, you know, a 32-man tournament if everybody could show up on the same day. But like,
correct,
it just doesn't work that way. And so one thing I think that you guys have done in the Hermit style that I'm a really big fan of is when you guys do your fall league or the winter league or the league tournaments, which is
yes. Sorry, continue.
No, I was gonna say, like, for the people who don't know what I'm talking about, I was gonna say describe what that is, because I have a vague idea and I kind of like at a face value, but I don't know the finer details of how it works.
Our league tournaments were set up. I don't remember the first one because we've done a couple of different events in the past as well that were kind of in the same style, but a little bit different. But the league events usually have been manned by Adam, Edge of Repose. Shout out to him. Which is just kind of having people sign up. They then get put into groups, and then each round is about a week long for your match. And then afterwards you would move to your next opponent in that group, and then after you get to I think it's three rounds given the group, you would then switch over to a single elimination bracket. We've had it set up as playing like a match of best of ones or a best two out of three for your preliminary matches, and then moving into kind of like a fight night style round, or now in the sense Trinity format, so to speak, for your single elimination. So you would play three decks. You roll to see what your first one is when you promote. And then afterwards, you roll for the next one, and then you play the last one if there is a third game. And they've been a pretty big hit because it also lets people kind of adhere to their own schedule and trying to get games in, which I think is good, especially if you're starting out. Like if you're starting out trying to just get a whole bunch of people on one day, it doesn't always happen. Again, as you said, people have lives, they have kids, they have things going on. Sometimes being able to say like, hey, you have this whole week to play, you can, as long as you set it up, otherwise like we'll give you a match loss, gives people a little bit more breathing room, which is good.
Definitely. And I think the only thing that I personally am not a fan of with the league style is I want to stream the events, and so that makes it really almost impossible to do, because I'm not going to go live to watch each individual match. I mean, it'd be cool. Like, if anything, if someone really wanted to, they could record all the matches and then post them up on YouTube. I thought about that, but then that requires like collaboration with each one of the players to get on there and record, or ask one of them to record it. And it's just like this whole setup that can get way too many variables and just not go well. So it definitely works as just like getting the community together to play some games and play for an event. But if you're trying to publicize it and make it like a media thing as well, it's a lot harder to do. So it's kind of like the give and take of like the live tournament aspect of like getting everyone together on one day versus you got a week to play around and you can move it around your life. So I would recommend using what works best for you, for your Discord, your community. But I'm a big fan of both.
Yeah, I think if you were to try to stream through like a league style event, you'd probably have to make sure that you have it all set up like beforehand, saying like, hey, like these tables are what I would like to stream, if that's okay with you guys, and then like, be able to upload some content from each round, so to speak. And then, if you get towards like the final portion of it, you could just say like, hey guys, I'd like to stream it. But obviously that is a lot of working with the community that you're with, and getting all of their consent for it too. To where like it could just kind of fall apart. You never really know.
Yeah, no, I think it's very doable. Like, it's not impossible to do. It just requires a lot of setup. So to pivot to back to like building a community and whatnot. So as like a what do you think, like the community as a whole, not just Discord communities, like the community as a whole, can really do to rebuild or even grow itself? Because we asked Bandai to do a lot of things, but Bandai only listens to us so much, so I feel like it kind of lands on us as a community to start growing it. What do you think we're not doing as a whole, or what we could be doing better?
I think it's a hard one, especially given where our game is right now and like how challenging it is for like a newer person to get into without really like understanding all of the mechanics, especially given like our counter windows, different timings, different like long-term effects that happen throughout a round, especially if we compare like say Fusion World to our game, where Fusion World doesn't have any counters or have to worry about like, you know, a lot of long-lasting effects. So it's a lot to wrap around, especially even if coming from like another card game, because there's certain elements from like every card game that Dragon Ball envelops, which is I think what makes it so unique. Because anytime I've ever explained like the game to somebody when they're like, "Oh, how's it play?" You kind of lean into that like, "Oh, it's, you know, it's kind of like Magic with a mana system, or it's kind of like Pokemon with a life system." But then like, you know, you get into the, yeah, you have an attack step, but then you keep coming back to an attack step, and like your combo is kind of like, you know, two characters fighting. So it's always interesting to try to break it down. I think as a community, trying to get more players in and also, you know, explaining to them like how the game goes. I don't know if we could set up some sort of, you know, I'd say community for newer players to learn, like not similar to like coaching, but just to kind of get like a better breakdown of how the game is handled. And I know there's been previous YouTubers in the past that have also done like, you know, beginner videos to kind of explain like decks and mechanics. But you need something to like be universal to gain traction. To be able to funnel everyone to and say, hey, like this is where you need to go to kind of like understand. So some sort of like information database that also gives you like maybe short form videos of like how things are.
That's something that I've been considering doing myself, actually, because I've gotten requests in my DMs to do certain kind of videos to help beginning players out, and that's something that I want to do. I'm trying to find the right partner for it. I got one in mind, but I think trying to explain Dragon Ball in one video is a task that is way too impossible to do unless you want to have like a 5-hour long video. And I think like my goal would be to do just that, to like kind of break down the game into like more consumable like videos, and as well as like explaining how to deal with different colors, like what they do and how to counter them and all that. It's something I have in mind for the future, so stay tuned, chat. And I think like another thing that as a community we could do, and this is something that Biryar said in the fan mail part of the chat. He basically said, you know, using the online locals to like help teach players. So, and I think like this game is a lot easier to learn when you're playing it. It's definitely very hard to explain to someone without like having cards in front of you. And
I definitely agree.
Like, when I show a brand new person to the game like the cards, and I swear this doesn't look as near. It's a complicated game, but this card, what you're looking at, is not as intimidating as it looks. You know, because Dragon Ball cards.
This card is not intimidating. It's just Gogeta's secret. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about this card. We'll talk. Let's just show you this cantrip real quick. You know, walls of text on Dragon Ball cards are getting crazy, and like, so when you lay out a card in front of someone, they look at it and they immediately go, Jesus Christ, you know, what does this card do? Everything. And it's like half the time it feels like conditions for summoning or like a permanent effect sometimes. Or in case if you're getting into a secret rare like Gogeta, it has like 10 effects. So, you know, you just want to ease them into the realm that is this game.
It can get overwhelming for some players. And I think some of it also comes from maybe them reading a card in their deck thinking it works one way when it really works another, and that like deters them from wanting to play the game because they like didn't understand it. I remember playing at, you know, my local when I had it, and I think it was around the time of like the turn 2 King Vegeta dot deck, and playing against someone that was just like. They were a little casual, a little competitive, and like going through the motions and just kind of being like, yeah, this does this, like this does that, like I'll counterplay that, and then they went to play a card, and then like it got nuked, and they're like, oh, well, I don't know what to do anymore, and then they kind of just like scooped it up, and I was like, I get it, and then trying to explain it, being like, hey, like I can show you how it works, to them being like, nah, like I don't want to. So like it's kind of hard when the person, obviously, I get it if you're upset about like the game or the loss, or just like how it went compared to like what you were playing, but to not want to like learn after that or understand makes it a lot harder depending on the person too.
Yeah, I think we would have to like find a way, and I think didn't Jimmy and Joku do this at one point where they like made like beginner decks and like kind of like explained how to play the game?
Yes,
like,
they did. They did. I don't know if it's still on the Hermit Style YouTube. I would think that it's still kind of floating around. I don't know if it'd be on Joku's if he moved over to One Piece, I believe.
Yeah, I think like something like that could help. Like if you could find a way to like find an easy beginner friendly like deck that's current with the mechanics, because that's the other part is our mechanics have gotten kind of, I don't want to call them crazy, but we got a Z deck, we got all these different mechanics now that you want the newer player to be able to use all the tools, but trying to find an easy deck to like teach them with is kind of difficult. Do you have any idea like what you think would be like an easy like new to the game player for the current like mechanic set?
I think it comes down to asking if they play TCGs, like asking what type of like style of gameplay they like, if it's like combo, aggro, control, mid range, and then trying to find something that's kind of comparable. I do think that Bandai's website, even though they updated it for white, still could probably use some sort of an overhaul to kind of explain things a little bit further, because it is kind of just like tidbits. I think when it comes to like newer players, it's figuring out what deck they want to play, and then also kind of understanding how the game is played, because like other newer games that have like more polished tutorials than Dragon Ball, like we just have that old tutorial from like I don't know what set 6, set 7, I don't really remember what starter decks are a part of it, and like we're not really a game that has a lot of starter decks anymore either. Aside from our like previous like reboot decks, and then like I think what is Cell the last expert deck that came out?
Yeah, I think Cell was the last expert deck, and the last like starter deck overall was like the Black Vegito deck, the Super Saiyan Blue Vegito. And then like we had the Ultimate decks, which was I think the last one for that was like Goku Black.
Yeah, and then like the last starter decks were all the reboots, so you had Pan, Gotenks, Trunks, and then Ape Goku.
Yeah, and so I mean, I feel like there could be something done like from Bandai to help like entice new players into the game. I definitely think they could really update that tutorial, but the problem with that is if they update that tutorial, then they're just exposing themselves to the community that they can actually make an online client like they do have for Fusion World, and they're just not going to do that.
Yeah. I think if they, not even having like a tutorial video in a sense, but being able to just like more accurately break down like a turn by turn. I know like the rule manuals and like the flowchart processing, do exist on the website, but I know that a lot of people also do like videos to kind of just like watch and be like, oh, so this is how this works. So it's nice to have the different communities and YouTube channels that still promote content to actually showcase some of that as well. I know when people join Hermit Style, if they're newer and want to learn how to play, we can tell them like, if you want to learn, just kind of explain what you want to play, talk about it. Well, someone should be able to help. And if you want to watch games, like go ahead and watch games. Like it's not like they're kept secret. Especially if you don't know even if you don't know what's going on, just watch to kind of see how like what the game might look like, and see if it interests you.
And of course, ask questions during the game. Especially if they know like a new. I feel like the community, if they know a new player's watching, they'd be more than like willing to answer questions about how the game works. And I think another good way to try to like bring someone into the game and help them find like a good starting deck, ask them what their favorite character is. I mean, I think that's like a really easy starting point. We got Broly decks all over the place. We got Goku decks all over the place. Vegeta decks. All the Dragon Ball characters are here. Well, almost all of them. All the main ones, anyway. We don't got no farmer. We don't got no no Mr. Popo.
No Mr. Popo. I mean, there's a couple Mr. Popo cards, but no leader.
We got Corrin before we got Mr. Popo.
We did. We did.
I mean, and I fuck with Corrin, but where's Mr. Popo at? But I think that ask them what kind of deck gameplay they like.
I think when it comes to trying to give newer players a chance, I think one step Bandai probably tries to funnel them to Fusion World because it is the easier game, which is what they stated. They wanted it to be a leeway into this game. I think we are at that point where they know how big our community is, so like they're only kind of printing to appease that side of the community. But they'll also continue to print no matter as long as we're buying it. So like as long as sets are purchased, like the game will keep going, and they've been doing a pretty good job of giving a lot of legacy support in terms of like just the rotation that everyone used to clamor for, which I just don't think would work in this game. I
don't think it would either. They tried it with Unison Warrior format and it just like tanked hard.
And I think that giving the TP specifically for like a couple of decks is great in trying to bring them up to speed. Even if some of them do feel like they're lacking a little bit, it is also nice that they do their best to like listen to the community and kind of change things around or fix things to see how we might like them. Given the talks of like set 29 being delayed for them to fix some things, like you can see from like the GTS distribution that like cards, like I think 5 more cards were added to the set after it being delayed. So like at least they're listening in a sense to try to give us more and maybe give us different characters and more what do you call it, like the different concept rares too, because I think they added one more. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, you're fine. I mean, it happens all the time when I'm on here. So Trethris in the fan mail chat kind of redirecting about like sort of selling people on the community. He asks, when trying to build up the community, what do you think the stance going in to be in terms of players making mistakes during locals or legitimate oopsies? Like, how do you think people should respond to that? Like,
so
if someone
when running the events, I will also occasionally participate in them to kind of keep a higher player count. But if I'm not, I'm still also between each room. But I can't be everywhere at once either. So like I will usually tell everyone to one, record your games, whether it be just for yourself or if you like ask your opponent like, hey, do you care if I stream? And then also if you feel like something is amiss or like your opponent is doing something shady, just like contact either myself or just ping for a judge. Or just any of like, especially in our channel, like the mod team. Most of them are well versed in the card game, to be able to at least help or figure it out. Some of it does always come down to like unless you recorded it, like a he said she said situation. So it's like always give yourself I don't know, some form of video proof or protection, I guess I should say. It's really depending on like, as far as I guess locals go, I mean, people also try a bunch of new decks, and we all know that Dragon Ball players are notorious for not reading. So there might be some hiccups here and there between gameplay. If the the opponent you're playing against does it like every single round, or does it every single turn, like something intentional that you think that could be a cheat or a whoopsie, of like, call it out. Like, you have the power to say, hey, like, I think you're doing something wrong.
I definitely encourage that. I think there's this huge, like, I don't know, nervousness or fear of causing drama that players have, where like they feel like something weird happened, but they're like afraid to call it out because they don't want to like slow down an event or something like that. Or maybe they genuinely don't see it until it gets brought up later. But I would definitely encourage that, like, even if it's a local event or even a regional event, if something's weird, just ask the player you're playing against, and then if it's still weird, bring a judge in. Like, don't be afraid to put your voice out there, because in the end, we want fair play. We don't encourage this huge string of problems we've had, and I think, like, as a whole, the community, like, even though we've been dealing with it, we don't want it, and so we until recently, when Bandai announced that they were going to be harder on these sort of things, the community got very much used to handling it themselves, quote unquote. And so I feel like when a new person comes into the game or sees the game and they kind of like accidentally stumble into the middle of like a cheating allegation, and it looks toxic because everybody's cooking them alive, because that's kind of our thing.
Yeah, the witch hunts, the pitchforks.
I don't necessarily think that they're great, but I never blame a group of people for doing it, because we've gotten so used to it being swept under the rug by the past of Bandai, that we've always, as a community, and I'm speaking generally here, have dealt with it ourselves.
Yeah, or made the joke that, like, hey, just go ahead and cheat because you're not going to get any like repercussions, which is also just a bad thing to like think about, because it just kind of gives a bad reputation to gameplay.
And it's really even not the truth. Like, something will eventually be done, and then this is part of like recording your events if it's an online event, and just saying something, because I think a lot of people totally incorrectly believe that the judges don't care. It's not that they don't care, it's that they don't know. Right. And if you tell them after an event's over, they can't do anything about it.
I mean, didn't Hoffman also touch up on that in the in that podcast episode? Like, you can't be everywhere, and if you don't know, then like you're not going to be able to do anything about it.
Exactly. So you as a player have to take a little bit of responsibility of your own game, and you can't expect 110 floor judges for every single table to watch your game over, because even then, until you call it out, I'm pretty sure they're not supposed to, unless they obviously see something fucky, they're not supposed to interfere with the game anyway. But regardless of which, ultimately first responsibility I feel falls on the players, and then they need to call a judge, and really understand that the witch hunts look really bad on the community, but the community as a whole, I think we have a great community. I just think we are so used to roasting the shit out of each other that's just kind of standard practice. But a lot of the times, it's all in good fun. But we don't appreciate cheaters. That's just a simple fact of it.
And you do always have that line, I guess I should say, between like what's intentional and what's unintentional, like missing a trigger or trying something that can be repairable. And I know that sometimes people will take that more to heart and be like, oh, like they did something wrong. But if you like, at the end of the day, if you both catch it, and that one person be like, hey, like, yeah, I made a mistake, like, that feels a lot better rather than just being like, nah, like, that didn't happen, like, I'm untouchable. Just like the straight gaslighting.
Yeah. And then that's really the tough thing about the line between malice and accidental, and I think you have to look at each situation differently, and you have to adjust accordingly, because I think, like, unfortunately, reputation will follow you. If you're known for doing wrong things, everybody's going to think every time you do it it's intentional, which honestly, 9 times out of 10 is probably true. But, you know, if it's something that you like, a lot of times I feel like when a true like accidental move is made, it's like found almost, I don't want to say immediately, but it's found like right after a game or like during the game, like a turn later, and then they talk about it. And then you could either choose to call a judge and see if it's repairable. Most of the time, if it's that deep into a game, it's not going to be repairable, and you may get a game loss or like a warning or something depending on how bad it is. But you grow from that and move on. You know, we all make mistakes. We're human, and but it's just admitting to it. You know, when you don't own up to your mistakes, it makes you look way worse. It makes you look like it was definitely intentional, and you know, that's when the community kind of pounces on you.
Yeah.
So if you make a mistake, just own up to it.
Say even if you end up taking, you know, the consequences from it, like you learn from it, you grow from it. You know, you made a mistake. You, depending on if you did it intentionally or unintentionally, like you try to move forward from that. I think as far as community like goes for that, it's, you know, either you get accepted and, you know, you apologize and people accept it, or, you know, they say like, hey, like, nah, that was actually like, you know, something major, you know, take a seat.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, if you are the master of your own future after that point, you know, you can, you know, you get your punishment, you come back, and if you just do it again, then clearly you don't care. You never were going to change, and we don't need you. That's pure and simple. And I think there's genuinely a lot more good people in this game than there are bad. It's just the bad always sticks out because
all the stigmas
it's the most vocal.
All the stigmas that arise from it, and like the light that it brings.
Yeah, whenever someone gets caught doing something, it's gonna be the talk of the week, the day, the forever, you know. And then, you know, we do a lot more condemning more than we do celebrating, which I wish was different, but I think that goes for like any card game, really. Doesn't mean it's a good thing, but like whenever there's something negative, it just always gets more press than anything positive, you know.
I definitely
but
agree.
Overall, I think, like, you know, this community is great in my opinion.
I think even with, like, you know, what's happened in this past week, even just like for Eternals, just, you know, kind of rebuilding that same kind of like player base or amount of people that wanted to join again and kind of keep going, because you had, you know, those same discussions and gameplay moments, you know, in a unified spot is nice to see too. And trying to, you know, get locals going is always a good thing to gain ground on, and especially you know, all of the different servers that host them. I think also going on Trethris's comment for the different events. I mean, Hermit Style is every Wednesday, just about 7:30 EST. I believe Lookouts every Friday and Saturday. I think you guys were talking about potentially doing Saturday, and then I think we talked about MPU or Chino's server. I think is also Saturday night. I don't know if Game 3 does their locals on Tuesday constantly. Have to ask Beer on that. And then I might be missing some, but it's nice to kind of see different servers being able to kind of host Dragon Ball almost every day of the week. So if you are someone that's fiending to play, you know, there's a good chunk of servers to look into. Hopefully we can link them in the comments.
Yeah. If I can get a hold of the links of them, I will definitely put them in the description down below, and then you guys can join all the servers. You know, get into the locals at whichever one. And if one specifically lands on a day that you're most available, I encourage you to go. You know, link up with them. You know, get your game on. Really, you know, we're definitely planning on hosting locals. I want to make sure that we don't have too much overlap with other servers, because we want everybody to have as much of a spread as possible, because I also never liked the feeling of choosing which server you want to go to when, we should be able to play with everybody, And I think it's a great thing that there are so many servers, out there running locals. I mean, many as in, for the size of our community, but still.
Yeah,
so
and
that's
it's also great because it gives people a place that don't have a local a spot to play. Like a good chunk of the people that I think play, during Hermit, don't have like a local or had a local that's now too far away or doesn't host the game anymore. So it's nice to give people an avenue to still be able to play the game that we all love.
Absolutely, I agree wholeheartedly.
And moving after Nats, I'm sure we'll have a whole nother, probably. I'm assuming Winter League would be what we'll go back to set something up for that. Setting up potentially a bigger event. Still keeping the local running during those times. Almost everything that I post is in its own announcement tab for people to see. If anyone has any questions, if they do join, feel free to ping me.
Absolutely, and of course, if you have any questions down in the like not part of the Discord, you can post a question down in the comments below. I'm sure either I will get an answer for you, or if John happens to peep the comments, he could answer them for you. With that being said, John, I appreciate so much that you took the time today to sit down in the ring with me and have a discussion about building this community up. Your experience running a community in your local events means a lot to me. Again,
no problem. Thanks for having
legend. Me. Oh, absolutely.
I don't feel it, but thank you. I'm just a simple guy.
And that's what makes you a goat, because you're humble about it. You do what you can for your community, and that is admirable in its own right. And I feel like we need more pillars like you in the community. And you're always welcome to come back on whenever you feel like it. Whenever you feel like you need to talk about something, whether it's drama or whether it's something important.
When it comes to all the drama, I'm mostly just lurking.
Yeah. You're a drama frog, kind of watching in the background. Do you have any last things you want to say to the community? Any shouts out? Any anything you want to put out there?
Yeah, as far as the community goes, if you have a good local, keep at it. Hopefully, getting more people to join, whether it be in real life or online. It's always great to see the community grow, even if we are a little bit stagnated. The game is a lot of fun. We're in a great, to me, healthy meta. I can't wait to see what the next two sets come and bring, considering we know some of the cards from up to set 30, I think. And then if you're newer to the game and you want to watch games, don't be afraid to ask. The least someone can say is no. And other than that, I'll just like to shout out Hermit Style. The place where I kind of started with all this. Shout out to you as well, because you keeping things running, especially after these this past week. I'll shout out to let's shout out to Treth, always playing games, always joining. Same with Andromos, kind of the mainstays in the local, and then everyone else. Probably the biggest shout out to Jay. He's my homie, and he's been keeping the Dragon Ball side of Hermit Style going since Jimmy's in the back line, and that's about all I got.
I need to get Jay on here someday. we got to get down to why he hates me so much. Well,
that'll be like a 30-second podcast.
Yeah, he'll just tell me because I do, and then that's the end of it. Well, with that being said, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to the Champs Table. Stay tuned for next week for who takes a seat in the chair in the ring with the champ. And always remember, whenever you're playing against Red Pan, side in your Black Mass Saiyan. Until next time, peace. Hey everybody, this is the People Champ thanking you for watching this video. If you want to see content just like this, there should be a playlist attached at the end of this video. If not, check our channel out and see what else you like there. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe.